So there I was, minding my own business, thinking I was crushing it as an agency owner. But I found myself one night so stressed out that I literally threw up in the trash underneath my desk. I was sitting there wondering how I was going to make payroll, and another website project was like spiraling out of control. I knew this song and dance. I've been through it before. The signs were all pointing to, this is going to end up costing me a lot of money and I'm going to have to eat it because the client has their own perception of reality. What was supposed to be a 4-week website project turned into month 7 as I'm sitting there that night wondering what the heck is going on. My client was furious, my team was burnt out, and I was about to miss payroll, which means I definitely wasn't getting paid. But that nightmare project taught me the most valuable lesson in my entrepreneurial career, which is, it's not what I say on a sales call that's the most important, it's what the client hears. So I'm going to go over the exact process that I use that transformed my sales calls and eliminated problem projects forever. And that project I just mentioned was supposed to be just super straightforward. It's something that we've done dozens of times before that. But looking back, I could see that during the sales call, I did what most agency owners do. I focused on impressing the client. I showed her our portfolio, and I talked about our process in really vague terms looking back on it. And when she asked about things like timelines and revisions and features, I gave her just really optimistic answers, hoping to close the deal. She's like, how long will it take? And I'm like, we can get that done in 4 weeks, no problem. Can we make changes during the development process? Of course, we're super flexible. How many revisions do we get? Well, we work with you until you're happy with the project. Sound familiar? Right? But what I didn't realize at the time that I was setting myself up for a complete disaster. What my client Marie heard was, we're definitely going to finish the project in 4 weeks no matter what. They can have unlimited revisions, and she can change anything at any time, no matter what. By month 3, we were drowning in scope creep and just going back and forth on just endless revisions upon revisions that we've already revised before. And the client was just getting super frustrated that we weren't delivering by the time we said we would deliver by. That project ended up taking 7 months instead of 4 weeks and ended up costing me thousands of dollars in unpaid work. And this was the 3rd project that year that was totally spiraling out of control on me. And I was literally at my breaking point. And after that night of reckoning and cleaning up my trash can, I locked myself in my office for a 3-day weekend. I think I took that Friday off. Actually, 4 days I locked myself in my office with no interruptions, no technology, no signal. And I just needed to figure out what the heck happened and what was going on and why all these were going wrong. I reviewed every email, every note that I had written down, every time they asked for a change or request. And the pattern became painfully clear. The problems weren't starting during production. They were baked in from the very beginning of the sales call. So today I'm going to share the exact sales call outline that I used that transformed all of my projects from being like super chaotic to super profitable. Number 1 of setting the expectations is actually creating a scope outline. Now, I'm not going to get into an entire like sales script on how to get higher conversion from a sales call. That would be another video or a whole nother course. But what I want to do is go over the outline of where I'm setting expectations and how I'm setting those expectations so that you can, if you're dealing with this, you can eliminate the frustrations, you can eliminate the annoying, endless back and forth and start finishing projects a lot faster and also more profitable. But even though I'm not talking about like a sales script, I do want to point out that you kind of want to have the bravado, not good with words, have the confidence of, that you're the authority. You're the one that they're coming to get expert advice, right? You're not just some vendor where they're like, hey, I want this website done and we're going to do it like this. We're going to do it like that. It's like, no, you're the professional. You know the best way to get them the best, fastest, less frustrating experience they could possibly have. And just a pro tip, sometimes you can hear in people's voices how they react and how they talk. And, a lot of business owners have a lot of confidence and they're like, oh, what we're going to do is da 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 da. But hey, that sounds great. But before we get started, I want to ask you a question. Do you want to get your project done with the highest of quality in the fastest amount of time possible with the least amount of frustrations? Or would you rather, the project take forever, it ends up not turning out the way that you want, and you're just completely frustrated the whole time? Well, I'd rather have the first way. Well, of course you would. Now, I've been through this thousands of times. I know the exact process that's going to make sure that we can get it done in a timely manner, get it done the way that you want, and eliminate your frustrations. But we got to go with my process because I've done it 2,000 times. Does that work for you? Usually people, yeah, I get it. It's like the old saying is like, I don't know if this is an old saying or not, but I'm not going to tell the dentist how to freaking extract my tooth. I don't know. He's the professional. I'm going to him. And that's kind of like the persona or the vibe that you kind of want to give off. I like to think of it as if I'm like the doctor, right? And somebody comes to me to get cured. Well, I'm going to give you a prescription and I'm going to give you some instructions. Go get that taken care of. Rarely does a patient go, hey, you know what, doc, I think maybe you should like give me this instead, and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z instead, and hopefully I'll get cured. And then the doctor's going to be like, no, this is the way. This is it. Do this if you want help. Don't do it if you don't want help. But as the professional, people are coming to you. They want your advice. They want to hear that you have a great system and process to get them to their goal as fast as possible with the least amount of friction. So what I like to do is start off the sales call with, hey, here's the agenda. Here's the itinerary for this phone call. I'd say, first, I'm going to ask you some questions so I can fully understand what you need and want out of this project. And then you're probably going to have some questions for me. And after that, if we both feel that this is a good fit to work with each other, then I'll go over my process and then we can move on from there. Does that sound fair? And normally they say, yeah. And it's like, okay, great. Then you go into your sales call, right? You probably got a lot of questions that you want to ask, right? I kind of follow the consultative sale approach. I'm asking a lot of questions and their answers help me understand exactly what they need. Is it going to be a good fit? And it also helps me close them down later on if there's any, like, usually people aren't signing up with you because it's either time, money, or fear. Like, I don't have the time to do this project. I don't have the money to do this project, or they're afraid. They're afraid of anything else. If it's not those two, is they're afraid of something. And they might just be afraid that you're not good enough, right? You don't have enough experience, or, maybe your sales call made them lose confidence in you, right? So that's why it's so important to study up on sales so that you have that confidence and you have a system and process outline that makes them feel like, oh, this person's done this before. They got this covered. So once I figure out everything that they want, everything that they need, why they want it, why they need it, and I have a real good understanding, then I like to go into like just outlining a scope. Like, this is what we're needing. This is what we're needing. Is there anything else that you think we need, right? So like, we're doing a website. We're going to do it from scratch. So we're going to do a custom website. We're going to use Elementor. We're going to need 3 mock-up designs. We'll need to go through the revision process until that is, approved, and then we can go and develop it. Do we need anything else? Like, is anybody going to be making payments on here? Okay, then we need payments. Maybe we use like WooCommerce. Maybe we need a membership, so we get memberships on there. Maybe we need a course. Like, what are all the features and functionality that they're going to need on their site, and get everything outlined in your scope. And what I always do is include like what's included, and then I go what's not included, just so that we could be clear. Because doing these projects over and over again, it's like, okay, this is the type of project. This is what normally people end up saying they want later on down the road. Let's just be sure. You sure you don't want this? Sure you don't want this? Okay, that's not included. Number 2 is creating realistic timeframes. Pro tip, I normally just take whatever my developer says and I double that. Like, oh, it's going to take 4 weeks, boss. Great. 8 weeks. It's going to take 8 weeks. And what happens there, if it was me, I'd want it done as fast as possible. And there's other people out there that are probably promising 4 weeks. So I'm going to say 4 weeks, but most people don't care. They know it's a big project. They know it's going to take time. They just want it done right. And when you can explain and show them in the next step, like why it's going to take that long, like they'll totally understand and appreciate it. But then you end up looking like the hero because you underpromised and over-delivered instead of over-promising, under-delivering. You under-promised, over-delivered. You got it to them earlier than what you said. And the third part I always do when I'm setting the expectations is creating a project roadmap so they can clearly see every step of this project. So like, as soon as we collect payment, we're going to send you a welcome packet. You're going to collect the information and have that ready to go for our kickoff call. From that kickoff call, we're going to be in the research phase. And then after the research phase, we're going to go into design mode. And with the designs, we're going to create 3 mock-up designs, and we're going to go through those revisions together until we get something that you like, and we will go ahead and, approve that, and we'll start the development and that phase, right? And then we're going to test, and then we're going to go have another discovery call on this, and we're going to go over all the revisions that might need to happen. We're going to run through it as if we're like a prospect and a customer, make sure everything's working correctly. Once it is, then we will go ahead and take it live. Now, each step of this outline has a time frame. Like, this is how long it's going to take. This is how long it's going to take. I actually like show in like highlighted in red, like, hey, from the time we do in the beginning when we're like asking questions, the things that are, this is how long the project is going to take if everything worked according to plan. As we know, nothing ever works according to plan. But I know that like from this time period of when we create, when we say go, I know it's going to take us 3 days to create those mockups for you. What I don't know is how long you're going to take to schedule that call. I don't know how many revisions we're going to have to do. This is a vague area. We don't know anything. So depending on how long that is going to take, it will push out the completion date. What I do know is that when you approve that mockup, we're going to go ahead and develop it. And it's going to take probably, 4 weeks to develop it. It's going to take another week of testing. And then I don't know how long it's going to take for us to schedule another call. I don't know how many revisions we're going to have. So that's another vague area that's really dependent on you, and it's dependent on us as like a team. That could push out the time depending on how long that process actually takes. The other thing we don't know is how long it takes to schedule appointments or collect information from you. So all these things can push out this date even further. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this at every step, every step of the way, so that we can reallocate and go, okay, based on where we are now, here's where these time frames are changing. And of course, if nothing goes wrong and everything works perfect, this is when we would have the site completed. And they're constantly seeing it, they're constantly hearing it, and they're constantly knowing that there's consequences for doing too many revisions. There's consequences for adding features. Like, all those different things go into that taking longer. So the key is having that roadmap that they can actually see, and you show it to them over and over and over again. The other thing I go over in great detail is revision boundaries. Like, I started putting up boundaries because I didn't feel good when I felt like people were taking advantage of me. And not that my clients were, ask and you shall receive. You have not because you ask not, right? So like, people just keep asking. And if I just keep saying yes, then I end up paying for their website pretty much, right? So I let them know when I'm going over that project roadmap, this is the part that we're in right now. And now we're going through revisions, and you have 3 rounds of revision. Anything after that, I'll have to put in a change order and add extra revisions to your project, and we'll quote it out, and then we can collect payment, and then we can move forward on the project. But if we follow my system and my process, we shouldn't need all 3 times. So what we do, what a round is considered, just so you're super clear and I'm super clear. And let me ask you this. I always like to ask a question to get them from stop listening. And because a lot of times when they're listening to us, they're like in their heads, meow, 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 meow. It's just how humans listen to other people, right? So I like to ask them a question real quick, make sure they're paying attention. Like you want to know how the revision rounds work so you don't get caught up later. Like, what do you mean I have to pay more money? You want to know that, right? Yes. Okay, great. Here's how it goes. So when we have the mockups, we're going to jump on a call, and I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to go through the mockup together, step by step by step by step by step. I'm going to help guide that process. What we used to do is we used to just give it to clients and say, what revisions do you want? Well, they'd send us 5. And then they're like 2 days later, they were like, oh, I was up late last night looking at it again, and I see X, Y, and Z. And then it just pushes out all these revisions because we already made the revisions. We're ready to go. And now we're getting revisions on top of what we already did. It's a huge waste of time for everybody. So the best way is to just jump on a call. We'll go through it together. I'll be able to guide, because I've done this a gazillion times. We'll be able to guide the process for you so that we make sure you think of everything on that call. That way we get all the revisions in one sitting, and then you're not going to look at it again. We're going to go and we're going to revise it, and then we'll schedule another call. We'll go over that together, and we should have nailed it at that point. If not, we'll take some revisions, get everything that you could possibly think of on that call, and then we'll go do the mock-ups. Now, if we come back and it's still like, oh, we don't know, then we're going to go through the revision process again. If after that 3rd time, we still have to do another bout of revisions, I'll have to put in that change order at that point, because as you know, you run a business, time is money, like nothing's free. Have my guys working without getting paid for their work. So that's why we have those set amount of revisions, so that psychologically, you know that you're limited on that. So you take more time. You think about all these revisions. Before, when we didn't do that, people, they had unlimited revisions. They didn't care. They're just like, I'll look at it tomorrow. I'll look at it today. I'll look at this. I'll have my cousin look at it. My cousin said she doesn't like the color fuchsia. And it's like, oh, well, we're already developing it. I've literally had one time where we developed a site. Like the next day, we were going over the developed site, and they sent me a URL, a website link, and said, hey, I really like this website design. Can we make it like this? Nah, bro, we already approved the mockups, dude. Like, we already developed it. I literally tell people now, like, that's basically starting all over again. So you'd have to pay for a second website, because we'd have to start with the mockup design again, and then we'd have to develop a whole new website. Nobody wants to spend more money or waste money. And when it's on them, they end up being more thoughtful. not on purpose. It's not like they're malicious or being mean. I think it's just subconsciously how humans think. Now, I mentioned the term change order. I say that a lot to people because if you come up with like, oh, hey, by the way, I want to be able to take credit cards and you didn't tell me that before, then I need to put in a change order and get that priced out and send you an invoice so that we can get that taken care of and get that added. And if nobody really balks at that stuff, but if they do, it's like, yeah, I totally understand. But I've had it happen a million times where clients add new features. Well, it costs money. It takes time to set up that new feature. So I have to pay developers to do that. Like it takes time and money. So like if there is a change, no problem. We'll take care of it, but I'll have to put in a change order and send that invoice to you. Is that clear? Does that make sense? Yes. And that brings me to the next point is always get those verbal commitments. Like, did you hear that? Did that make sense? You understand? And get them to say yes, you know what I mean? And if you're smart, like I wasn't, well, we didn't have the technology back then, just utilizing Zoom and recording it. You have the recording. You can always go back. That will save your butt. But I haven't had to use anything like that. When I set the expectations the way I'm teaching you right now, nobody ever balks or complains or anything. I've never had to go back and look at a recording to like prove what they said. And I think they also see the last point, which is I document everything. They get a recording of the call after we get off the phone or off the Zoom, and then they get a follow-up email documenting everything. They get a PDF of the scope document, the scope outline, and they see everything. And in the scope outline, it actually goes over like the revision rounds. It goes over like the change order protocol. They're constantly seeing and hearing it to where they don't have a failed expectation in the future. And what I found with human beings is that is usually the main reason people get into fights and arguments is there is some type of miscommunication or a failed expectation because of that miscommunication. So if you can outline all these points, and I just keep like a checkbox like, hey, did I cover this? Did I cover this? Did I cover this? Yep. And then I'm clear on that sales call. I know that they have the right expectation from this point on. And now these problem projects have virtually disappeared. I just don't have them anymore. Nothing ever spirals out of control because I'm doing all of these things up front on the sales call and through every point, every talking point, every time we get together, I am reiterating all of this stuff. Now, at first I was absolutely terrified and like setting up these even saying it, like letting them know that I had these like only 3 rounds of revisions, like change orders, and they're going to have to pay more money. I thought people would be running for the hills. I was scared, but in actuality, my close rate actually increased. And I think people just like respected it. They're like, oh, this guy's got a process. He freaking is going to be awesome at getting this process of a website done because so every step is so clear in the conversations they had so far. So my profit margins increased because every project was profitable. I didn't end up losing money by doing free work just to make the client happy because I miscommunicated or was vague or they had a failed expectation. Like I just always wanted to make everybody happy. Not necessarily that I'm a people pleaser, but I always just think that, the customer is always right. Like, the company, oh, you make a mistake, you got to eat it. And that's dang right. I just implemented the systems and processes now to help eliminate those issues. And my client satisfaction skyrocketed. People actually sat down with me to do case study reviews. They were so happy with the process and how smooth things went and how quickly they went and what good quality work that we did, of course. It's just amazing when the clients know exactly what they're going to get and when they're going to get it, that it eliminates a lot of the frustrations that they normally have during these projects. And last but not least, my team's morale went through the roof. They didn't have to like deal with frustrated clients. They weren't working nights and weekends anymore just to accommodate clients' endless revisions that they want or unrealistic deadlines. And the most surprising result of all, the quality of clients that we the quality of clients we attracted improved. The ones who valued professionalism and structure were just drawn to us. That nightmare project with Maria that had me throwing up in my trash can at 2 a.m. ended up being the best thing that could have ever happened to me. It forced me to completely rethink my approach during our sales calls and how to set expectations. And the process that I just shared with you today turned my agency from absolute chaos into a thing of tranquility. I don't know what that thing is, but it went from chaos to running very smoothly. So if you're struggling with problem projects or scope creep or endless revisions, I invite you to take a look at your process and implement a lot of these steps of setting the expectation, not just on your sales call, but every time you get on the phone with them or Zoom call. I always say phone or a Zoom call, reiterate those steps of resetting the expectation over and over again. Because remember, the seeds of success are planted in the very first conversation you have with your clients. So if you found this helpful or you want to learn how to build your dream team, you can click on the link in the description to watch the video, how insourcing beats outsourcing 100% of the time. And I will see you in the next video.